Hey guys, a couple of years ago, I did the Nursepreneur conference that was supposed to be held in person, but because of COVID, everything went online. As a result, we had some great sessions and we were able to include people from across the globe. So I'm actually going to start opening up this series to you here in the NurseMinder Nation. What you're going to see next is the interviews that I held with these really amazing, talented nurses who are forging their own way into the world of entrepreneurship, creating their own business, using the tools that they've learned through nursing to expand into areas that you may not have considered. So why am I sharing this with you? Well, there's a few reasons. I know that today's workplace is exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, and they also want to honor all of the training that they did in their many years of schooling to become a nurse. With that, I'm going to share with you the interviews from 2020, just when the pandemic hit, but also in the description box below, I want you to follow up with their story and see where they've transitioned to or how they've expanded or how they're growing their ever present entrepreneurial journey. And so you're going to see a series of nursepreneur interviews so you can see, listen, and learn from them, and myself included. And then if you'd like more information, you can head on over to that website. Enjoy this interview. Welcome back to Nursepreneur Conference 2020. We are with Sonia Gunter, an LPN who is an author. She is the founder of the Pink Coat Coalition, which is a nonprofit organization, and the Gunter Healthcare Leadership Academy.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to read your bio now. Author Sonia Gunter is a licensed practical nurse and author of Professional Traits of a Healthcare Leader, a guide for women who want to level up in healthcare. Sonia is also the founder of an all-female-led nonprofit organization called the Pink Coat Coalition, whose mission is to educate the most underserved communities in and around the Atlanta area about various healthcare issues. In addition to that, Ms. Gunter started the Gunter Healthcare Leadership Academy, which teaches those who are already in healthcare or interested in healthcare how to become leaders in their respective areas. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome.
I am so excited to have you here. This is such a needed conversation.
Yes.
I think LPNs need to see LPNs in leadership roles.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is like where you live, but here in Alberta, Canada, we have a lot of LPNs, I think, who feel like their wings they can't fly. They don't have wings to go beyond their designation. And so I really want to showcase LPNs who are moving and shaking and contributing to this world.
I appreciate the opportunity to do that and to spotlight LPNs. It's unfortunate that I know sometimes we get pigeonholed in thinking that we are glorified CNAs, so to speak, which CNAs have their role as well. They're very important and vital to the whole matrix of everything. But I've been an LPN for 17 years now, and I jokingly always share I can run circles around the best RNs. I've been in the business long enough, so and I've done very well with being an LPN in the industry, in the business, and I've had nothing but great success as an LPN.
Yeah, I just love that you continue to dare and continue to dream and move the ambition forward of how you want to serve people in the community that you want to serve.
Very important to me. It's my life passion and purpose.
Yeah, and with that, I'm going to let you take it away and you can give us your presentation.
Okay,
that
great.
You've prepared for us.
Absolutely. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Let's see.
Here it is, share screen. I've got it up now.
There we go.
Got it now?
Yep.
Okay, so I wanted to start with basically the Leadership Academy, the Gunter Healthcare Leadership Academy, which is very important to me in terms of building our next leaders. People wonder why that's a passion of mine. I was laying here today, actually, in the midst of all this coronavirus conversation, I had to have a test today. And because there was some possible big symptoms, the company wanted to be certain that it's nothing going on. So in my time of rest on today and for the next few days, I had to just kind of dial back and say, Sonia, what is this Gunter Healthcare Leadership Academy truly about? And I will tell you, it's about the purpose that has been placed on my life, I feel, to raise leaders that are going to make a change in the world of healthcare. I am just certain and I'm convinced, and I've seen it for myself, that in order to affect change, in order to make a difference in healthcare, you've got to position yourself for leadership. And that's not just healthcare, that's in life, period. If you want to, position yourself in, be a leader in any industry, you have to, in order to affect change, you have to be in leadership positions to be heard and respected. So it's not about a title, it's about the work that you're doing. So the Gunter Healthcare Leadership Academy was birthed, and changing the face of healthcare by creating leaders in the healthcare industry. Of course, being a nurse for 17 years, that is my focus, is healthcare. So I had the opportunity to write my own book last year, as you mentioned in the bio, which is The Professional Traits of a Healthcare Leader. It is available on Amazon. I'm excited to share that. So the material that I built the academy on is based on the book that I've already written. So part of what you get when you have the curriculum is going to be the book as well, to kind of follow through and learn from. The objective of the course. So this course has been designed to empower and educate healthcare personnel to step into an attitude of leadership, which will yield more professional results in the workplace. By doing this, companies and individuals will be better positioned to compete in the industry. So what I've done is, when I created this program, it's not just for individuals, it's also for companies who say, I have CNAs. My heart is with CNAs. I think because as an LPN, I've done so much management with that level, and with entry level nurses, that I love to see the growth in that sector there. And so I work with companies a lot that have CNAs. Maybe it's a home care agency, something of that nature. And what I've done is created surveys for them to test professionalism in the industry, ask their clients who they serve, about the professionalism that the staff is showing there in the workplace, and then creating an after result or survey, if you will, after the course. So it's not just for individuals, it's for companies as well. I offer it to both. So I did a little research, and this is also in the book, talks about top 5 leadership development trends for 2020. You can find that in Forbes.com, and the citation is there. And so the top trends that they're talking about in leadership, and this is again, and this is general leadership, but it definitely applies to healthcare. The first trend is a focus on applying and sustaining behaviors, which talks about getting the right people in place to do the right types of work. And then once they're there, the retention and keeping them focused on what they need to do. So a lot of times we have leaders in place, and where they go to school, they learn things, they get their degree in healthcare management or whatever the degree may be in, but then they're not applying or sustaining the behaviors to keep them in leadership positions. So trend 1 is really for companies to focus on applying and sustaining those behaviors, keeping them in leadership positions through trainings and further educations, and never losing sight of, okay, once you graduate, it's over with. No, leadership is a continual learning process. Trend 2 is the mobile learning for millennial managers. I think that's important because what we find also in the industry, we have a lot more millennials that are entering into leadership, again, with these newfound degrees or newfound interest. Even in being a CNA, coming in the door, you're excited about healthcare, but what are we doing for millennial learners? We know everything's smart and fast, and the smartphones and things of that nature. So putting leadership in people's hands and not making it just a class. I had to learn even with that. So yeah, right now my class is it's right now in person that I offer here in Atlanta area, but I am absolutely creating an online course because I understand the importance of being able for people to learn in their comforts of their home, on the go, that sort of thing. So mobile learning. Trend 3 is the group coaching and democratization of leadership development. So, excuse me, what they talk about here is that new managers are typically put through leadership program or boot camp, and the middle managers are largely forgotten. So in this new decade, they're saying that everyone needs to be a leader who actively engages with their people. So important. Right now, I serve as the resident services director at a senior assisted living community. And I have the the pleasure of serving all the staff, the family there. I'm considered middle management. I have an executive director who's upper management. So sometimes what happens, people like myself are thrown into these roles and we're said, hey, go out there, lead, handle it, you've got it, figure it out. And don't forget how to keep us in the loop. Again, almost like the focus on applying and sustaining behaviors, just making sure that we're kept in the loop and engaging with people as well, and that everybody's engaging as one team. Trend 4, alignment to the engagement survey. So this is making sure that the boss stays connected to the people, that leaders stay connected to the people. Leadership development professionals must realize that changing managerial behaviors is the best way to move the needle on survey outcomes. So in the book, I talk about, and I'll go further into that in just a moment, but I talk about different leadership styles and what kind of leadership style that you have, what makes a great leader. Excuse me. Of all the different leadership styles, you know, some people are more autocratic, some are more democratic, some are more laissez-faire. Then you have some that are kind of all of them all at once. And I will say the best leader truly is one who can pick from all groups and develop behaviors from all of them, because you're dealing with so many different people and different personalities. One leadership style never is really effective. You have to know how to relate to all different types and styles. And then the fifth trend that's popular, or that's trending again in leadership development for 2020, is how is the artificial intelligence. It becomes invisible, not meaning it's going away, not at all, meaning that it's so much in your face, it's no longer a surprise. It becomes part of the matrix, it's part of the fabric now of leadership everywhere you are. So knowing and staying on top of computer trends, how to maneuver through computer, how to understand how to navigate um, with different social media and different um, optimization groups online is so important, because artificial intelligence is now it's so in your face. It's no longer, like they say, it's invisible, because it's now part of the matrix of it all. So with that in mind, I wanted to kind of talk about how my class speaks to those different trends. So one of the talking points of the class is the importance of education. So in this class, we discuss career goals. A lot of times people enter into healthcare thinking I'm going to be one thing, and then they figure out, oh my gosh, healthcare is so vast, and that's the beautiful thing I love about healthcare. When I entered into this industry, I didn't even come into it with an understanding. My father told me healthcare will always pay the bills. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. I think my first job was an administrative assistant in a nursing home. And I just fell in love with healthcare when I really opened up the doors and really got the chance to look and see what all is out there. And this was in 1999, 2000. I eventually went to nursing school in 2002, and I was just blown away. And even still, even my 17-year career span, I have been in just about every single setting you can think of: pediatric, adult, med surge, long-term care, um, hospice, which hospice, I love hospice, and so necessary these days. So you name it, I pretty much have done it. So healthcare is so vast. And we'll talk about the importance of education. Leadership in healthcare there are some barriers if you don't have the credentials to advance. You do have to have the education and the training, but don't let education get in the way of you becoming a leader either. And I like to emphasize that, because although you may not have all the credentials to move into certain areas, being a leader is not always about the position or the title. And I like to make sure I focus on that. So we explore career goals, various healthcare career paths, average pay and responsibilities for each one. Discuss various schools and requirements, qualifications for specific career paths. In healthcare, there are some specifics that you have to be you have to be a part of, or go to school or get the training for. Okay. I'm sorry. There we go. The next talking point we have is the I in team. And that is so funny, because I know a lot of times we talk about that there is no I in team, but there is an I in team. and that word is integrity. And so, in order to be a great leader in the world, not just in healthcare, but again, just in life, you have to have integrity. So, we define what integrity is. We define and discuss autonomy and beneficence and now non malfeasance and justice, which are key ethical terms in healthcare. I could give it all to you right now, but I want you to come to the class and to sign up. So, but I want to definitely touch on those things. These are words that if you're going to be a healthcare leader, you must know those words and you must make them a part of who you are. And that's the I in team, the integrity and the ethics of healthcare. The next talking point is professionalism in general. What does it mean to be professional? I think people define it all differently. Um, in my opinion, professional it goes across the board for everything. It means it's how you behave. It's a look. It's the way you speak. It's the way you move. It's your bedside manner, so to speak, in healthcare. So, what does it mean to be professional? We will also have mock interview questions. It's interactive. I want to talk with you. I want to answer your questions that you may have about how do I interview? What do I wear? What's appropriate attire? Can I go to an interview in scrubs? You'd be surprised. I do a lot of interviewing, and people come in scrubs, and in certain settings, it's not a bad thing. It's okay. But just to make sure that you're always respected, you want to be a leader, you want to always give your best and put your best foot forward. So, all those things are discussed as well during the training. Talking points, some other talking points, and this is just um, social media and career advancement. This is a big one, especially in the current climate that we're in right now, especially with the social distancing. We can't be close to each other. We can't meet in person. We got to be 6 feet apart, so three people in the room as opposed to 30. It makes a difference in how you're networking. We have got to learn how to network effectively on social media and the difference it makes in the career. I'd like to even share you and I, Tammy. Not quite sure. I think we met or we saw each other somewhere here on social media, and we're able to connect. You're all the way in Canada, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and this connection is awesome. And it's just the power of social media and what you post, people knowing who you are, making sure you brand yourself effectively. So we talk about using Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and again, different leadership styles when you're doing your social media. How do you talk to each other? How do you deal with each other? How do you keep it fun and personal? You don't want the things to be so business, and you want people to see the personal side of you as well. They get to know you and feel like you can relate to them. So we talk about the importance of that during the course as well. There are a few other talking points, just some additional lesson topics. We talk about passion. What does it mean to be in the industry? Passion without, I'm sorry, work without passion, or pursuing things without passion. You're bound to fail. You have got to love what you do in order to do it well and to do it effectively. We talk about emotional intelligence. It's a big thing going on. It's a big conversation for the past few years now about knowing how to control your emotions so your emotions don't control you. I see a lot of people in the industry that could be awesome, awesome leaders, but don't know how to separate emotional from logic or emotional from the common sense. And so, emotional intelligence and learning how to navigate those emotions. They're real. No one's saying to not validate them, but there's a time and a place, and knowing how to make things not so personal and keep things business. There's also a quiz actually in my book that I talk about emotional intelligence. So wrap that all up with the class as well. And then authenticity. How can you know how to lead if you don't know who you are? And being authentic to what you love, what is important to you. This has been a struggle for me. 'Cause a lot of times, especially in care, as caregivers, as nurses, we do what other people say we should do. We feel like we can't tell people no. We feel like we should be um, at everyone's beck and call and taking care of their needs. And there comes a point when you have to be authentic to yourself in order to lead that says it's okay to say no, that you do what's best for you. And that makes the best leader because now you're showing someone how to lead by your leadership and by being true to yourself. I do have my website. My website's actually in works. I have some things that I'm updating again with everything going on. I'm focusing on bringing my class online. Excited about that. You can find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Mrs. Gunter, MRSGUNTER. I'm also on Instagram at Sonia_Gunter_2020. And I'm also on LinkedIn. And there's the LinkedIn address. It's real long, but it is there for you. And I'll leave the screen up so you can write all that information down and have for your personal work.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that part of that, just small part of what you do as a leader in the nursing world. I'm wondering what motivated you to start the Leadership Academy. So you mentioned, if I just back up for a second, you mentioned the book that you wrote.
Yes.
Did you write the book with the intention of knowing that this might bridge into something more, or did the book all of a sudden reveal another pathway to you?
The book revealed another pathway. And that's someone told me a few years back that if you want to get out there, I love public speaking. My passion is community, getting out in the community, sharing health education, which is why the nonprofit was also started. And someone said, write a book. If you want to get in front of people, write a book. So that's what I did. And the leadership book just came quite naturally because it's what I do. So it was easy to write. And then from there, I said, wow, I have something, and created the academy behind the book.
And how did you decide that that would be your business? Because you do have a few other things. I mean, authoring, you could have just been an author and continued to write and maybe speak and all those kind of things. You started this nonprofit as well, the Pink Coat. Yes. Sorry, I don't have it up on my screen.
The Pink Coat Coalition, yes.
Pink Coat Coalition.
Yes.
And that certainly could keep you busy. So how did you decide that this is where you were going to really put your attention to building your brand?
I have spread myself pretty evenly across all of them because they all intertwine, honestly. So the book became the platform for the Academy and the Pink Coat Coalition. Again, the book opened up doors. It showed people, when you write a book, you become an expert in whatever you wrote the book in. Mm-hmm. People just naturally, they just begin to trust you, right? So I used the book as the platform for the Academy, and then went ahead and started the Pink Coat Coalition, which is my passion and purpose as well, because becoming leaders, my desire, like we said, is to change the face of healthcare by creating leaders that go out into the community, go out into the field, and can have a voice and hopefully change policy. So all of that, it just all works together. It all intertwines.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. So did you come up across any roadblocks as you were designing? Let's just stay on the Leadership Academy first, and then I'd like to talk about the nonprofit as well. But in creating your Leadership Academy, did you come up across any roadblocks as you were starting to create it and design this and share it?
Absolutely. So there's so much information that I wanted to share from the book. And so when I found myself, I had this big thing, this 8-hour course, and it was this huge workshop. And I said, well, maybe it's too much. Maybe to start, it's just a little much because, our attention span nowadays with social media and with everything else can sometimes be a little shorter than what it used to be years ago. So I had a big project. I had to narrow it down, and then to make it appeasing to not the individuals, but then the companies as well. So the Academy has kind of two wings to it. One, again, for one side, one for the other. And it is a little bit challenging to mold it into what I needed to be to fit that particular, whatever that particular customer audience is. So that would probably be the main roadblock there. And making it also economical. You want to get the material to the people and not charge an arm and a leg because it's good information, but then also making it worth its value because there's a lot of value in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And with that, did you have anybody who kind of gave you did you have a mentor when you went through this, or were you just finding things out as you went along?
I've been searching for mentors. I think having mentors are important. I think having teams are important. But this project, I just kind of did it alone. Yes. But again, when you're in the industry for 17 years and you know what you know, aside from kind of running ideas by my family or throwing something to my husband or my daughter for, hey, what you think about this? You kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a really common story for entrepreneurs is we just, that's the whole theme behind the daring to doing to done is when you dare to dream bigger, you just start.
Yes.
When you own it and you feel it and it is in your soul and you need to do it, you just start. You don't know where that's going to take you.
Yes.
And we often finding a mentor is not one of the first things we think of. We just like, I'm going to go serve.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But I am looking for a team. So, anyone out there, even you don't have to necessarily be local. So I am definitely looking for a team of people who believe in the academy. My desire is to take the academy and have other teachers where I give them the curriculum and then they're able to go and teach it and be kind of contracted trainers, so to speak.
See, your vision just keeps, this is what I love. Listening to your story, I could hear a lot of my own experiences in there as well. So I also had like the
Yeah.
workshop and I thought, geez, I don't know if this is the best way to deliver this content. I teach conflict management and how to create a little bit more peaceful and connected relationship and
Yes, I
lifestyle.
love conflict management. Yes.
Yes. And so that has evolved into an 8-week online class. Like you, I've gone online as well because people want it where they live and not having to travel and not missing opportunities because they don't live in the geographical area.
Yes,
The demand is
absolutely.
high. Yeah. So I've kind of unfolded things as I've gone along as well. So I was curious as to whether that was your experience too.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But not anymore. That's why you have this leadership academy. So people don't have to wander aimlessly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So let's see. So the gap that you identified was the fact that there wasn't enough training for middle management. You clearly identified middle management, and I see that all the time here as well. People
Hmm.
are promoted without training. Training comes 2 years down the road after they've
Hmm.
bumped and stumbled along like we do.
Hmm.
And that's an important gap to address. I've noticed that as well here.
Yes.
Walk us through some of those first days after you made the decision that this was going to be the path you took. So you wrote the book knowing that you might be leading into this academy, but when you actually really said, this is it, I'm going in for this, kind of talk us through those first few days, what that felt like, what it looked like for you.
Well, the process is ever evolving. So I'm always still within the first few days. I never feel like I've gotten all the way down in there because, as you said, as you're going, things evolve. Things are always changing. New ideas are coming up. I still work full time, as a nurse outside of the home. So I haven't jumped out there completely because I still have bills to pay and family to feed. But so it's always ongoing process. One thing about entrepreneurship that I've learned is you're going to work hard, and you're never done. You have your 9 to 5, you clock in, you clock out, you come home. But entrepreneurship is truly it's constant. It's
Mm-hmm.
constant. It feels good though because it's your own time, and you can stop and move how you need to move and not be tied to someone else's clock. So that's the beautiful part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's again is the entrepreneurial story as well, is that many of us are still working in some capacity. One, because it pays the bills. Two, because we're still
Absolutely.
called to that service and we still love it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but third, it's another place to network and share your ideas and your growth with other people in the industry and to promote in a cost-effective way.
That's it. Absolutely.
So speaking of cost, you don't have to tell us what you charge. Obviously, that's part of your conversation with your clients, but how did you come up with pricing? What things did you do to determine the value of your program?
So I ran it by a few people that I just know in the industry. How much would they pay for something of this? Even for somebody like myself, who they know my worth and my value. And from there, was able to create a pricing, so to speak. So I offered my book as part of the value as well, and I want to be comparable to other programs out there. So because I know I'm not some big time leadership academy like Khan Academy, these different ones, and Forbes and all the the nice ones out there. It's nice to know that I do have a place, but I also, like I said, want to make it comparable so that I can compete with my group.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you're designing and building, there's a lot of work that goes into a business. And I think of all the different skills I've learned along the way. What were some of the biggest areas that you noticed gaps in your own knowledge in terms of business?
Oh wow. I've never been into money and numbers. And so although I have great ideas and creative ideas and I know that I'm onto something, putting value or money, making things make sense has been a challenge for me. I would say
Mm-hmm.
that's probably my biggest gap. on the business side of things. I've not formally business trained outside of what I've learned in management in the industry itself. But even budgets and things of that nature and how to make it all work, that's been a bit of a challenge for me.
Your biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Are there, like, what's your top 3 lessons? We'll just end it with this. What are your top 3 lessons that you would like to share with those who are considering going into entrepreneurship, or maybe just started and are struggling? What would you give as your top 3 tips to help them?
For one, again, find your purpose first. In order to be an entrepreneur, you have to live up to the call, the purpose on your life, where you're just spinning wheels. Number 2, make sure that your gifts, talents, and education match your purpose. So don't waste time getting degrees or taking, doing educational courses in things that have nothing to do with your purpose. Because again, your purpose is what's going to be your entrepreneur. And then number 3, being honest and okay with failing or feeling like you failed. It's one thing, it's that saying that they say when people go to like a concert and someone says, oh, well, I missed a step. Nobody knows the step you missed because only you know the choreography. So it's okay if you miss a step in doing this. No one knows except you. Go back to the drawing board and start over.
I love that. There's a saying that failure isn't final.
That's it.
Yeah, and I love the thought. I heard this in another speaker as well, but I've known this for a while. Instead of saying you failed, it's a not yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it just gives you that, okay, there's something else I need to learn here before I can move forward to the next step.
Absolutely.
That was beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our Nursepreneur conference, our online Nursepreneur 2020 conference in Alberta.
Yes, in Alberta, Canada. This is so awesome.
I know, I can't officially stamp the passport, but
I know, but this is so neat. I'm just excited that there'll be some Canadian brothers and sisters up there watching this. I'm excited about it.
I'm really happy that we connected on Facebook, social media, and that we're able to coordinate this. Thank you. Now, don't forget to check out the description box below to see what they're up to now. Did this amazing entrepreneur stay in the same field? How has their business grown? Did they change? Did they go back to nursing? Find out below. Now, as you can see, I am working from home. I am still in the entrepreneurial business, although my business is also shifting and evolving. So follow us, like, share, comment. Let me know how this has been helpful. We always want to support each other as we move forward to the lives that we most feel fulfilled in. And as always, go out there and make it a great day.